Hey everyone, nice to be here. So after a fun night at the party, there always unfortunately comes time when you need to go home. And you won't start calling taxi companies to find out who is available. You use Taxify. Now you're investors and say you want to invest in a company in the United States. You won't transfer the money via bank account or send it in an envelope. You use TransferWise. Now, if you're an engineer, it often happens you have to outsource your production. Why on earth should you use an email or deliver the drawings by hand? And if you're any one of these companies, you're already using Fractory. Fractory is the partner for on-demand manufacturing. Now, in everyday life, we have those cool devices and gadgets and apps to communicate, but the manufacturing industry is still lagging behind tremendously. The communication is still very old school. The engineers are spending hours each time to make a new production order, and the suppliers waste 50% of their time on responding to those with codes. But that's where Fractory comes in. The customer's design is automatically matched with the most suitable supplier. And our system calculates instant pricing and lead time without the suppliers having to do anything. Now the suppliers only have to deal with orders that are already confirmed by the customer. We charge a markup percentage on each order, and it's dependent on the transaction size. So we started out with laser cutting. It's one of the most widely spread processes in the industry. And in 3 years' time, we aim to capture annual 8 million share of the market. But laser cutting is just the tip of the iceberg, and the mission of Fractory is to automate every manufacturing process and to cover the supply chain from end to end. Since our launch in late November last year, we have shown a steady growth of both revenue and user numbers. And we have had our first customers from the Nordic markets, and our next steps are to expand more into those markets. The aim is to reach 200K gross monthly revenue by end of this year. Now, all of this quite fast progress has been available due to the full stack founder team. So me and my two other co-founders, we cover the basics of what our business needs. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, been in the industry for 5 years, been both engineering and production side. Josep has been doing sales for 7 years, including B2B software. Rein was the first CTO of Sport ID and also a developer in Skype. Werner is our helping Matt Wizard developer, and we are very happy to have Ivar Emmelg as our advisor. Since autumn last year, we have been through the Startup Wise Guys Accelerator, been a finalist in many pitching and startup competitions, and we were recognized by the industry leaders of EIT raw materials. So now for the first time we are fundraising. And since we will break even with the current team in a couple of months, all of this raised funds will go towards expansion into the biggest markets in Europe. I'm Martin, CEO of Fractory. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How does it actually work? Like you put the drawing in, and you said you're giving instant pricing based on a drawing. So
Yeah.
like what happens in a computer?
Yeah. So the suppliers we have as our partners, they have inserted their pricing data into our system. We made the algorithm that is that can read the drawings and then calculate the exact price per each supplier. So the system actually calculates through all the suppliers who provide this material, for example, and then chooses the best, taking into account the material, the order size, the location, meaning the transportation cost into the price as well.
With laser cutting, it's something like how lengthy the cut
Yeah.
is, how thick, and that's
Pretty much, yeah. Yes.
Any competition?
There is one that is pretty similar to us, which is in the United States. They've been active since 2014, raised 38 million. For us, it proves that that what we are doing is worth doing. But in Europe, we haven't found something that uses the same system or the same approach as we do. There are websites who calculate for one factory, and there are websites that do matchmaking without automation. Yes?
So to understand correctly, that the product quality cannot differ much? Right?
Not much, yeah. There are standards in place, and all the raw materials, if this is certified, that already guarantees a certain quality standard. And since we do pre-vetting process with each manufacturing, meaning checking the standards, checking how they work, and doing some test orders, then we can make sure of their quality. And if something comes up, then they just know that they won't get orders from us anymore.
Have you had like bad experience?
There have been a couple of small orders going wrong, but those haven't been actually bad experiences, since this has provided us with an opportunity to see how it actually works if something goes wrong. And in both, there have been 2 times. In both of those times, the manufacturers redid the order on their own cost.
Doesn't the pricing depend on like how busy the factory is, and like how would you put that in there?
It certainly does if you're a small client, but since now we have reached the point where we are a big client to our partners, they actually take our jobs in between other jobs, and we have set the fixed pricing basically with them, so they don't change the pricing for us.
But if there is a factory that is like has a lot of capacity left, aren't they going to be able to make better prices for your customers then?
Rarely. With very large order, this might be the case, that they might want to just take it in to have a job for their factory and their workers and so on. But since our small orders are yet quite small in terms of the industry, then this isn't much of the case. So they still need to cover the basic cost of the manufacturing.
Very small. Any idea of cost of acquisition?
So, yeah, you can, well, basically, if you take the revenue number, and we have 1.5 people working on getting new customers, so it's, yeah, calculated from there. But it's changing every month, so. Right?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.